Hello? All right. Hello, how are you?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
just a second.
Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so I just thought it would be a good idea to convey the whole thing via presentation.
Okay.
So my presentation is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So today I'll just be giving an overview of what all work has been done over this Google Summer of Code for the open source sustainability project. So, talking about the problem statement, this is from the Neurostar's official description of the problem statement. That is, as demonstrated by many organizations, the open source community can do great things, but then there are various factors such as contributor turnover, etc., which may bring down its activity and retention of contributors. So, there was this project that was developed last year for encouraging conditions that lead to sustainable practice and modeling these environments. And so it was done on the NetLogo platform, but then there were some issues with the NetLogo platform. So the issues were the first one was it uses its own language called NLogo for developing the agent-based models. And since the NLogo language is not in much use beyond the NetLogo software, it has very limited option in terms of plugins and libraries. So we can't integrate many other extra features into that. Also, as I displayed earlier with that Q-learning plugin, the issue is it can't save and retrieve session data from the simulation. So the model actually never improves over time. Also, deploying them to the web is a bit tricky. So this year, how the issues have been addressed by switching the platform from NetLogo to Mesa. Since Mesa is based on Python, so it makes it a lot more developer friendly because many developers are more familiar with Python than they are with Mesa. And also, just developing the models in Python itself opens the door to extensibility and creativity, as you can just plug in various libraries like NumPy, Matplotlib, Panda, and all that to analyze and visualize all sorts of data. And I'll just show the demo now. So this is the current. Just a second. This is the current website. So as you can see, just welcome to open source sustainability project and all this. So you put get started, and then let's say I put my GitHub username. So yes, so I get my name, my username, the profile pic, and these are some of the top repositories I have. So I can hit view more and I can get a list of all the current repositories I have. Let's say I wish to pick this repository. So I can just click here and then this will open up the model for me. There are, for fetching these repositories, I am making use of the GitHub's GraphQL API. And for the model deployment, I am using Cloudflare Tunnel. So what this does is the model is currently on localhost 8521. And by running this command, Cloudflare Tunnel localhost, what this does is this exposes my localhost to the web and it provides me this URL. So the model will be available at this URL. The only issue with this is when I hit Control C and terminate the session on my terminal, then this link would no longer be valid. That is one issue, but I couldn't find any official way MISA has prescribed to deploy these models. I did try to like permanently deploy it by writing some scripts and but it hasn't worked completely. So I'll try fixing that anytime. And so this is the model. And then one more is I'm not really able to integrate the data from, let's say, if there are these any data from these repositories into this model because Misa has no official way to do that. So coming back to the blockers, so if we see the blockers, so the first blocker is the integration of Q learning into Misa. So there was actually when I looked into Misa at the beginning of the project, I looked into NumFocus's uh, official repository where they had put a list of GSoC ideas they wanted to select from. And there were projects like adding ability for Jupyter interactions for the MISA models. And then there was this as well, integration of a reinforcement learning library into MISA. So I thought that as and when our work was going parallelly, if this project would have been completed, which is a 175 hours project, then maybe I could utilize this library to incorporate reinforcement learning into our current models. But unfortunately, this project didn't make it till the end in GSoC 2023. So I was planning maybe to reach out to these mentors and see if there has been any work done on this unofficially, because I tried writing some scripts and integrating reinforcement learning into it, but it's a bit hassle and it's very cumbersome. I don't think it is very long term friendly to make it in a very long form I was trying to make. So I think I'll just reach out to them and see what is the progress on this. And apart from that, so yeah, that was about one blocker, the integration of Q learning, and as I displayed the full-fledged deployment of MESA models, which I think I can fix it, but I'll have to look into it a bit. And so talking about the future scope of the project, one is, as I said, awaiting for the official reinforcement learning plugin by the MESA team, since that would be the most sophisticated and best way to go about it, rather than we trying to make our own way or our own pipeline or scripts, whatever. If they are offering it inbuilt in the MESA library, that would be very seamless. And then integrate once if this is released, then we can utilize the same library to incorporate Q learning into the models. And then the future scope, like right now, I'm just utilize GitHub's GraphQL API, but then maybe we can plug in platforms like GitLab, Slack, Discord, etc. in the future. And my future plans regarding this are even like after the end of GSoC will be to try and reach out to the MESA team and see that when would the reinforcement library be released, and maybe look into a bit, and maybe I can try to get familiar with it. And if this project happens to come up in the next GSoC, then I'll provide any assistance required to anyone who would be working on this, since I think this can go a bit longer. And about my next week's plan, I think I'll just try to. There were some errors with the deployment actually. I did want to deploy this. It is deployed. If you go to the repository, you can see this. So if this is deployed, entering the username and all that does work. But there is, when it comes here, it doesn't fetch any repositories. I think it's some issue with the GitHub's GraphQL API configuration. So I'm not sure why it doesn't work on the deployment. So I'll try fixing that this week. Apart from that, the documentation and everything is pretty much done, as I showed last time. So you have all this. I added the Slack channel of orthogonal labs as well, in case anyone would like to join. And then you have the setup instructions over here. So that is also done. And so, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, that was pretty good. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, that looks great. So you did a couple of things this summer. You worked on putting together a alternative to a NetLogo, which was deploying MESA, and then you were able to run the reinforcement learning model in MESA. Then you worked on some Q learning problems with respect to the reinforcement learning model, and then you deployed this on the web, and we've talked about, like, I think it's great, and you did a lot of work. So we talked about incorporating data from other places, and of course that's a little harder to do, because with GitHub you can just call it via API, but with things like Slack and those are going to be harder to get. There are APIs that you can use, but it's harder to integrate it. So, but I think that's great what I've seen here. So that's great. And so, yeah, we should do. We're kind of working on this piecemeal, because we started in 2022, and then we had a fall project, which was also in 2022. That's where we did the web interface, and then you've improved it quite a bit. We should have like a review session where we actually walk through the web interface, but that doesn't have to be before you turn in the project. It can be later. But
and I know Brian hasn't looked at this in months, and probably wouldn't have like a bunch to say, but I kind of met in the digital universe. I pass them in the hallway now and then, and it would be really great. I don't know if it'd be possible, but I'd love to have Brian kind of like
Yeah.
have a group discussion. Not Brian's not going to like evaluate, but just to like
Right.
see where it is and kind of talk about commiserate about the challenges and see next steps would be really cool. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's going to happen. That's kind of a I don't know, not likely. But yeah, I'd like to have like a walk through that stuff and everything else too. It's nice. It's nice to see all the work that you put into maintaining like the community documentation and all that. I know I wasn't here last week or so, so I don't know how much of that's like brand new or not. But it's first time I'm seeing some things, and it's good to see that. So it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so Brian McCorkle was a GSoC student in 2022. So Himanshu was a student on the project, and so was Brian. And Brian actually picked up in the fall and did the first web iteration of the web interface and that. And so, yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while, so I don't know. He'd probably be pretty impressed to see this. So that's good. Um,
I think one issue would be that like when I initially joined, the problem statement it was a bit it was a bit vague in the sense we weren't very particularly clear on what we wanted to achieve. Like I had looked into MISA and all that, but I think that after this year, it's I have gained a lot of clarity on how this project should proceed. So let's say if we have a future contributor or anyone, then it would, I think before proceeding to that phase, we all could have a discussion to like fix very rigid points on the problem statement itself, so that we can have very particular points and particular set of deliverables that we can pass on to any contributor. So let's
right.
say if someone happens to come in the future, we can say that these are the list of features that we would like our app to encompass, and maybe we can give him weekly or monthly goals, so that there's a bit less time on research and more time on development.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think a list of issues would be, or to begin, like kind of a list of issues that are very broad, and then we could work them down into like very specific things, maybe for next year's GSOC.
Yeah, it would be really. I know we didn't really end up using GitHub um, in a substantial way, but I think as like a bonus, a great thing would be like actually like doing an issue, make like a list of actual issues, and then just like take the time to describe them so like someone can build upon it next time in that way. I think that's something that um, in future versions I'll try to make a little more less in the background, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, issues usually start out like if Raj is going through his final version of what he's submitting, and he comes up with some issues that he thinks maybe are follow up things that people can do next year. We can make a list of those and make those into issues, and then refine them later. So it would be like someone would start out with a list of issues, and they just refine them as they see fit. So it would be like if we're doing another improvement next year, or to make some of these very focused improvements, then we know exactly where to go. So those are all things we can do. But yeah, I hope to see you as a sort of a advisor for next year's project. That would be great, because I think you've done a very good job this year. And so yeah,
I think
so
now that I've gained like more clarity on the project, so uh, it would be very more like very easier for me to guide any new contributor on how we should go about this problem statement. Now
yeah,
that there is much more clarity, and I think by the next summer, hopefully the MISA team also makes that library, the reinforcement learning library they were planning on developing.
oh
So
right,
I think once that would be developed, I think it should be pretty straightforward to implement,
yeah,
because then we don't have to like put thought into how reinforcement learning would be incorporated into MISA and then the web interface, because they would just be providing an inbuilt solution. So I think working with that would be a lot easier.
yeah, yeah. That's great. So yeah, thank you. I look forward to seeing the final submission. if you need anything from Jesse or I, just let us know before. I don't know. I don't think the submission process is that difficult, but like I said, usually you just have to point to the repository or the gist or whatever you're using to submit, and then it should be fine.
I'll also just move all the work to the Orthogonal Labs official repository so that it stays there.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'll do that in this week. I'll just wrap up everything, make a submission just and move everything to Orthogonal's official GitHub.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, thank you. All right, well, thank you, Raja. That was good, and I know Roshali couldn't make it, but she wanted to see this, so maybe she'll have some comments for you too. Okay.
I think Ankit wanted to see a recording, right?
Yeah.
Of the
Yeah.
meeting.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about today was I wanted to go over our Hactoberfest activities. So the DevoWorm group is participating in Hactoberfest. We've been participating for this is like the third or fourth year we've been doing this. So Hactoberfest it's an event hosted by GitHub, and I think DigitalOcean was the first sponsor. And they started to, basically it's a take on Oktoberfest, which is a German holiday. And so they have, so throughout the month of October, you can contribute to different repositories. And if you get a certain number of commits, you get some sort of reward. Now, we're going to be participating through the DevoWorm group, and I'm going to show what the different parts of that involvement are. So let me share my screen, and I'll go through what we're doing for this year. So we're starting a little late. It's officially starts October 1st, but we weren't able to get it up until now. Actually, we're not giving people any rewards, but we are helping people to get involved in DevoWorm, next year's GSoC for the DevoWorm group. So this all starts, actually, we started participating in 2020, and we have this organization, as I'll show you in a minute, DevoLearn, where we've been developing this deep learning software for analyzing microscopy images and microscopy movies of developmental biology data. So we have, we're trying to segment cells. We're trying to capture migration trajectories and other types of phenotypic changes in the cells. So we've been working on this for several years. And in 2020, the way we did this was we had DevoLearn as a standalone repository. We had set up some good first issues, and they were labeled Hactoberfest. So you know which issues that are open for Hactoberfest involvement. And we had probably about 15 people come through and participate. Some of those people applied to the 2021 GSoC, and one person actually got accepted in that. But, it gives everyone like some, they get recognition. It gives them some experience working on software and so forth. So this is the way we did this in 2020. We addressed a bunch of GitHub issues, and then we labeled the good first issues and the Hactoberfest issues. Those are the issues that we wanted to focus on for that month. Then in 2021, we did a different repository in the DevoWorm group. This is called the Digital Basilaria Project. This is something involving a single cell colony of diatom. And diatom is a specific type of organism. It's a microorganism. The diatom we were working on looks like this picture at the bottom, where you have this colony of rod-shaped cells that move in different ways. So, we wanted to take microscopy images and movies of diatom, this species of diatom, or this genus of diatom. We wanted to segment the cells, and we wanted to capture some of the movement dynamics because they move against each other in these different patterns. So we wanted to segment the cells and track the movement. And so again, we had our repository set up, and we had maybe about 10 people involved in that. So this year, Google actually has a post on Hacktoberfest 2022. They talk about the benefits. This is Abby Kabanok-Mays, who used to be at Mozilla, the Mozilla Foundation, and she did a lot of open source outreach and things like that. So they talked about in 2022 was the 9th year for Hacktoberfest, so I guess it started in about 2013. So this is actually, they've had, in the past year, there's been 2.6 billion contributions on GitHub. So this is, quite a big program. So they had I guess they've already had their global kickoff for this year. And, our organization is participating. We're a little late, but you can go to our repository here. So we have this organization called DevoLearn. It's github.com/DevoLearn. And we have some pins up at the top. So we've been working on this software, DevoLearn, which is under its own repository. This is the core module of this package. We've made several formal releases. We're on Pipey if you want to check that out. We also have DevoGraph, which is a graph neural network approach to the same problem. That's a module that's not as developed as DevoLearn, but we're still working on it. Then we, like this last year, Sushmant Reddy, he's worked on this. He's worked in this area, so he's done a number of contributions to improving DevoLearn. One of them is working on getting our models up on Hugging Face, which of course is an open source repository for machine learning models. And he developed a couple of the core toolboxes in DevoLearn and brought them up to Hugging Face standards. So there's the nuclear segmenter, the membrane segmenter, and the lineage population. So basically, you can take an image and you can segment out the nucleus, which is the sort of the center of the cell, or the center mass of the cell, I guess. Best way to describe it in terms of image segmentation. Then the membrane segmenter, which segments the outer edge of the membrane of each cell. It's a different way to do it because, we often use images that have fluorescent protein signals and things like that mark the nucleus. We also have other types of images like SPIM imaging, that allows us to sort of highlight the membrane and some of the details of the cell. So these are different ways of doing this. Then we have the lineage population model, which is looking at the cell lineage. So these are different models that are on Hugging Face right now. Those aren't involved in Hacktoberfest, but those are available to use. And so what is available for Hacktoberfest is that we have this model annotation repository. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to annotate some of these data sets and run them through some of our toolboxes and get them up and running. So this is it's called model annotation, and this is our Hacktoberfest repository. This is where you'll go to sort of participate in Hacktoberfest. This is Sushmant here. And so we have a procedure to go through to contribute to this. So if you're interested in contributing, you can go to this repository. It's DevoLearn/model annotation. And, so basically what you're doing is you're drawing from a data set. And the links are in this file. So there's the link to the data set. There's a CSV file. And you're taking images and you're annotating them, and then you're putting things in the CSV file. So the information is all listed here. You're creating a bounding box. You're looking at overlapping cells. You're avoiding backgrounds. So you're doing some segmentation, and then you're doing some annotation. And so these instructions should follow. You should be able to follow these instructions. You'll create an issue saying like how many images you took from the data set so we can have a record of it. And the details are on here. There's if you go to filing or creating an issue, there's a template for issue creation, and it's basically how many images have you worked on, what are the image names, and in data CSV, it has some order to it, so you can use that order and report that. So that's how we're going to try to keep all of this straight. And so the goal will be to have some sort of model annotation for this data set is from what they call the cell tracking challenge. So this was a competition that was hosted for people to try to find the best ways to segment biological cells. So this is a data set that's basically a benchmark. We know how to use, we know that it works well for segmentation, and the rewards, of course, are that every valid PR will count towards your Hactoberfest contributions. So if you make a pull request, you put an issue in and you reference the issue in the pull request, then that's a point towards your Hactoberfest contributions. You can then go to the GitHub Hactoberfest committee. I don't know how they do that, but that will count towards it. The top contributors will be acknowledged in the project's documentation and have a chance to work on the upcoming GSoC project in 2024. So, we'll be doing a project for DevoWorm in 2024. DevoLearn will be one of those projects, and, you can contribute to this to get prepared for that. We have a lot of things that we're doing here. You may want to check out this Detectron 2 video. This is where they kind of employ the method we're using here. If you need to watch that video to get a handle on what's going on, that's good. You also have other resources like this. We're using the open source tool Make Sense. So you visit that site, which actually is makesense.ai. You install the software, and there's documentation here if you need help with that. One more point about DevoLearn. Sushmanth is also developing some other models based on the Segment Anything model. So he's developing a version of Segment Anything called CellSam, and we're starting to assemble a repository for that. So stay tuned on that. That should be good. Segment Anything is a model that was developed by Meta, and they've been doing work on building a general purpose segmentation program that's very easy to use. Basically, if you have the annotations and you have a pretty decent image, you can just select features and they can be segmented. And ideally, it should be much easier than doing what we do now in terms of segmentation. But this is something that is, I think, Sushmanth is getting up on the ground floor of being a contributor to Segment Anything. So that's great. So that's all I have to say about Hactoberfest. If people have any questions, they can contact us. So happy Hactoberfest, everyone.
Yeah, actually, next week at my university, me and some members of my club from the Amphos Club, we are conducting a Hactoberfest at our university, because now we have the freshman people at our university. So we wanted them to, get started into open source. So we also have created our own repositories and a set of issues for them to solve during, I think it's a 1 or 2 day event. And throughout that 1 or 2 days, we'll be teaching them everything that is required, starting from what is open source, why is it required, what is GitHub, how do you push, how do you make a PR, how do you follow the contribution guidelines and all that. And towards the end of the event, we would be showing them some other open source organizations and programs like GSoC that would ultimately help them to take their skills to the next level. So I think towards the end of the event, I can maybe just show this repository as well, present it to the people over there, so that if anyone is interested, they can contribute or potentially be a part of GSoC in 2024.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I'll post the link to this in the Slack, and we can, you can take a look at it and present it to them. We'll probably be working on this past the end of October. If just like Hacktoberfest is the sort of the period where GitHub is sponsoring it. But if people are interested in working on say a GSoC project for next summer, then they can continue on with it, and we'll keep it open until we don't have any contributors anymore or whatever. But it should be a good opportunity to get, especially if people are interested in like image segmentation. So
Apart from that, now when you presented the entire Hacktoberfest thing, I got another idea. In the future, when we let's say you have 2 or 3 contributors for a single GSoC project, so what we can do is we would have a, let's say, curated list of issues that we want to get resolved this summer. So let's say you have 10 issues. What we can do is out of that 10 issues, we can take like 3 issues and we can give them as, task sort of thing to them to, do work and they have to work on that task before their proposal. So that in the process, we also get some issues resolved and, also we get them familiarized to the project and problem statement itself. So I think we can incorporate the task sort of work structure in general as well.
yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for presenting on your project. Good luck on submitting it and everything. So
Thank you.
yeah. All right, Jesse, is there anything you wanted to add before we go?
Not really. Are we continuing this meeting like next week and stuff, or what's the future for these meetings? I guess.
We'll probably have meetings maybe every other week, maybe every week, depending on what people's schedules are.
Okay. Yeah, my courses have finally started. It's so weird because I'm used to being like a month and a half ago, but I'm getting into that. I'll say more about that some other time. I really want to go to. There's an event today at MIT. Basically, there's CBMM, their Center for Brains, Minds, and Machine 10-year, recap thing.
Yeah.
It's not like nothing amazing is going to be there, but it'd be a really fun thing to go to regardless of that. I don't know if I'll be able to go today. I'll probably go tomorrow though, so I might maybe do a live update from there. There's like Josh said about leaving one of the talks,
Oh wow.
sharing one of the discussions. They're kind of doing, embodiment, language and thought, and like neuroscience and AI, like the general brains, minds, machines divide, and like these sort of discussions on each of those broader topics. So that'd be cool. Nothing really more for this meeting, but there's a lot more. I'll stay either Saturday. I might be able to have a little window of like. I don't know if I'll be able to the whole meeting tomorrow, but I'll be there for part of it for sure.
Okay.
And more to say then, but that's all for today, really.
Okay. Well, thanks for attending. Yeah, and we'll people are able to make it in the fall. We'll continue the meetings, and we might do it every other week, but I'll definitely.
I think one thing to talk about it's more of a bigger admin thing is like what are we we're kind of at a literal and metaphorical change of seasons for like what we're focusing on. And we're kind of in this. We have ISPSM, but then it's October and it's November and December, so it's sort of like the last 3 months. But also, in my mind, it's 2024 is here, so it's like, what do we start preparing for that stuff? We kind of missed the. Things changed at UAlbany, so we kind of missed some of the window for that. But I still think advertising for some like internships and preparing for like starting fall 2024 or starting in the 2024 at the end of fall and then winter, whatever spring. I think there's some discussions to be had about that, including, and I'm saying that for the whole lab, but also like for this group, because this group kind of merged into a lot of discussions about VR, a lot of discussions about other aspects of open source, and I think there's something. I don't really have a clear vision for what that should be, but I really like to talk about that and get bit feedback from Raj, from Vishali, from Hussein, from other folks. Um, I think like Morgan, other folks who kind of been in that space, because we have some means to really push some things forward, and our docket is kind of clearing up. We get to kind of make that choice soon about what we want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's to be had. There's discussions to be had, and but I mean, I guess the headline today. It's great to see all that stuff from Raj, and I think we had a pretty good summary so far. So it's good
Yeah.
stuff, and look forward to what's ahead for that.
Yeah, okay, that sounds great. Thanks. So thank you for meeting. Look forward to, maybe we'll meet next week. We still need to get Vishali and, of course, Himanshu from the Himanshu is also working on a DevoWorm related project, so maybe we'll get an update from him as well. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.
Take care.
I'm gonna go myself.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.